All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Stratum 7.7, a preview. Thanks for joining. My name's Adam Kurtz, and I'll be stepping you through today's session. Again, we'll be talking about Stratum, the latest release, 7.7. Some of the immediate benefits that you'll see that are available for 7.7 is that we basically have delivered more value to your analysts. We've offered new tools and efficiencies for your administrators. And this version will actually lay the groundwork for some future major enhancements that will modernize the product in terms of the data management tools. If you're thinking about what type of data management tools you're talking about, would be something along the lines of like calendar maintenance is definitely one. Table creation, those things with some of the older interfaces that you go through will eventually go away. So that's kind of what's on the future horizon for that. So some of the features 4.7.7, you'll see that there's some new reports that are available for the view administrators. They can go in and generate some reports based on some of the menus that they have access to, like the role maintenance menu. You'll now be able to export reports into Excel from that menu. The view menu, you'll be able to export usage reports from the view menu as well. So a lot of stuff there in terms of just general reporting for the administrators. The dashboards has been enhanced. Some additional maps have been added so that you can do some additional data mapping depending on what country you want to map out, such as Canada. The glossary, the Stratum glossary, if you're not familiar with that, that's basically a tool that basically gives you the ability to document your application. So your dimensions, your measures, your calculations, your attributes, all those things can be documented in the glossary for your users. So if they have any questions about what something means within the application, you'll have the glossary available to them so that they can go in and see definitions for things that they're looking for. And so we built some extensions from those into the connectors for both the Power BI connector and the Excel connector, which is now we're now calling that the connector for spreadsheets. I think just to appease Microsoft. So, the calendar mapping import tools are available now in Viewer in this particular version. So that's something that is one of the first forays into changing some of the administrative tasks, is this ability to do the calendar mapping by a new method. So 7.7 introduces that new concept. You'll be able to help. So the reports, obviously, we talked a little bit about some of the reports that are available. These things will help you additionally track and manage things in your environment, views that you have, the usage of those views, actions, broadcast schedules, groups, user profiles, view groups, and roles. So these are all the components of an administrator for Stratum. And as you can see, now you can export reports, export that data down to Excel. And we've had requests, from our customers that have wanted to do this, and we thought it would be a great addition to the enhancement to the product. So now it's a reality where you can just from these menus just dump that data down to Excel. So that's done on demand, as you can see there, and you can filter and sort the data once you get it into Excel. The role management does provide some filtering before you dump that data down, but everything else is it dumps everything down. So for your views, everything comes down, and for your users, I believe, everything would come down as well. So it's just basically for roles where you have that ability to filter things out. So this clearly will answer some of your questions about your environment that perhaps you've run across. Like what views do you have? Like just taking a general inventory or a stock of your views. Are they getting used? And who's using them? So this data is now more readily accessible for analytical um, purposes once you get that within in Excel. If there's views that you want to see that are used on a certain date, there are users out there that are supposed to receive broadcast action results, what users have permission to see certain measures or dimensions. Yeah, we get asked this stuff all the time. So now it's a reality where the admins can go ahead and just get this data for themselves. So here we can see a screenshot of where some of the reports would be, such as the role menu. So if you go in and define a role, this is for security purposes. And as you can see now, there's an Excel icon available. And you can then go ahead and define your filters as well so that you don't have to dump every role down, which probably would be a lot of data, I would think. I'm pretty sure that's why they added a filter to this particular export. So use those options for filtering so that you can focus on, how much detail you really want to dump down into Excel. And you can do some tracking of last updated details for more administrative areas. And this will allow you to do some of that stuff much easier. So big enhancement here in terms of getting data down from role maintenance menu. Here's the view menu. So if you go into look at your views within the interface, you can see all the list of all your views, the owner, last person that used them, when. So now you can dump that data down. And as you can see, if you hover over the Excel icon to do your export, you can do one of two reports. You can do either the view report, which will just dump down all your views and give you a nice Excel report of all the views that you have in the environment with all the additional data that comes with it, such as the user, the owners and when it was used and all the dates. Or you can dump down usage, which will actually give you data from a different table that we track the usage of the product. And so now you can dump that down and get a different spin on the data in terms of who's using what views, when, and it provides more historical data for your analytical purposes, whereas the view report's just going to give you a general stock of your views, who the owner and who the person was that last used it. You're not going to get historical data that you would get in the view usage report. So two different reports for sure. It depends on what you want to do. In your usage report, by the way, there's a slide that deals with this, and I'll show you where you can go in and you can decide how many days back you want to store this data. So up to you in terms of how much history you want to keep. Here's what the view report looks like. So as you can see, just a general stock inventory of your views, the description, if it has one, the view ID, the view type, view group, the owner. You get a lot of good data here, so on and so forth. Number of actions. Yeah, so that's what you get when you dump the data down from your view menu. Whereas the view usage report, you're going to see a different style of data here. As you can see, you've got usage for your users. And if you want to focus or filter on a specific user, then you can see the user's usage for the past X amount of days, depending on how far back you want to store this type of data. So that would be your usage report. Okay, and so those just an example of some of the reports that you can generate. Again, there's more available for your actions, and so we'll take a look at some of this when I show you some of the stuff in the demo that I'll do in a little later. But yeah, that's the new Stratum admin reporting. Switching gears here, we now have an enhancement that we made to the dashboards mapping. So here we've added We've streamlined the workflow for adding and editing the charts for mapping, or what we now call geo charts. And now you can expand the selection of the regions you can chart. So if you just want to do other countries, such as Canada, you can now select Canada, and if you have the data, the attributes available for that, then you can go ahead and map out your data for Canada. Here is an example of what that might look like, where we've got a map of Canada, and we see the different provinces here. We've got one highlighted, Alberta, where we can see the data points there for Alberta, and so on and so forth, right? So we've got the mapping capabilities in this case for Canada, or any other country for that matter, because we've expanded it quite vastly. I'll show you in a sec. Once I do the demo, you'll see all the different countries that are available. So it's kind of crazy. So yeah, so that's been added, and then also like I said earlier, when we started the glossary, accessing some of that data has been extended beyond just the user interface viewer. You can now get access to some of that data within the Power BI connector, the go to Stratum visual that's part of the Power BI connector, and also the new spreadsheet connector add-in for your spreadsheets. So it provides another layer of data, which is nice, so that you can actually, again, provide that descriptive information, that metadata that you have for Stratum, and make that available to the users so that they can really get a better understanding of what these measures mean. What is sales truly? Is it net of returns? Some of these things that they might think about, so that they can trust the numbers more, right? Gain more confidence into the application. And that's why the glossary is so important. It just really bolsters the user's confidence, so that they know what the numbers mean or should mean, and what they should reflect. So yeah, build out your glossary. I can't say it enough. And so this again extends the glossary to these different interfaces, these connectors, so that you can then get this data into those and get that extended to those reports as well. Here we can see that to the glossary, again, you want to just go in, just make sure you update this. As you can see, here's my definition for actual sales. Have the right user resource go in and make this do this maintenance, so that it provides the value for the user. So again, customize your glossary, go in and fill that stuff out. And then it becomes available, as you can see, not only within Viewer, but here I've got a Power BI dashboard where I can make the glossary available for the different components that I'm using for my visualizations within Power BI. So it has a definition for some of the components that I'm using for the visuals, product brand, definition of what product brand is, the line description, the product brand manager. So again, there's just more data available so that the users can understand what they're looking at, and some of the definitions there. So loading that glossary data along with the view data that's now available, you'll be able to, again, show some of that data, extend that data from the glossary, and link to the glossary so that you can not only show it within the Power BI visualization, but you can also link to it and show additional data from some of the components within Power BI report itself. I'll show you. You get a better understanding of what that would look like. So here we have a example of what that would look like in Power BI, where again I'm connected to the glossary information from a view, and then I decide, I could just pump in a table there, and then I decide what elements of that information that I want to make available within my visualization, within my Power BI report. So pretty simple, and it'll ask you when you connect to Stratum, when you do your connection, whether you want to bring down either the view, the glossary data, or both. So you can do both if you want to. And that's what the next slide is. What do you know? So there you have it. You know, you can decide which ones you want to bring down per view. So you can bring down either the data, the glossary data, or the view data, or again both. So, and you want to make sure that you turn that on so that you have that option available. So that when you initially connect Stratum and provide the URL, there's a new little question box there that you would toggle on to make sure that the glossary data comes along as well. Okay, so that's and the go to Stratum Power BI. Some of the new features again um, shows some of the dimension definition, attribute relationships, values for that active member. Again, this is the go to Stratum visual, and you'll be able to not only see the data within the visualization, but you can use the go to Stratum little button. I like to call it the Stratum button, see more detail button, if you will. You can either route that to a view or route it to the glossary data. So it's up. So that's been enhanced as well. Here's an example what that would look like, where I can highlight a given visualization based on product brand, and I click on that, and it explains to me what product brand is and all the different attributes that are available for that particular product brand that I clicked on. Product brand 12. So that's nice. I'll show you some of that. You'll see it how that works. But again, it just makes getting some of these data points easier for the user, where they don't have to then go search for it within a view or fumble around different interfaces. This is nice integration that's been added here. Again, you'll control all this within Power BI. I'll show you some of that within the actual demo. But there's obviously some areas here that you'll go into for the go-to Stratum visual, and this areas where you'll need to provide the URL of UID, and then as you can see, there's a toggle for what do you want to show? Do you want to go to the view itself, or you want to go to the glossary? Okay, so for the spreadsheet connector, it's kind of similar in terms of getting that available within your spreadsheet downloads. So now that's been included so that the glossary data now becomes available within your Excel add-in in this example. It also creates header links to the glossary so that you can see what the header definitions mean, whether it's a dimension or a measure or an attribute. You can just now click on those, and it'll pop up and bring up the glossary for those different components. It's really nice. And again, I'll show you that in a second. It also creates some member cell links. So if you want to see a specific row or cell of detail, like a customer, you can then click on that, and it'll bring up all the attributes for the customer, which is really cool. Here's an example of what that looks like in Excel, where again, you can then include the glossary links within your connection to Stratum. And then as you can see up here, my headers are now hyperlinked, where I can then click on them and bring up the glossary definitions. Down here, I can see for product brand, for division, those have been hyperlinked as well. And again, if I click on any one of these product brands, it will bring up the product brand definition in the glossary and in the additional attribute information as well. So it's just an example here. I click on year-to-date this year's sales amount. It then brings up the glossary for that, and I do see that it is sales net of returns. So that should answer some questions for some of the analysts out there. So it's pretty nice, just another extension of data that, again, explains what the users are looking at. Yeah, and you just want to make sure that's checked on. I'll show you that. Pretty simple, so that when you select that, you can, the new report obviously will give you the appropriate hyperlinks for those areas we just talked about. New calendar mapping import features. So now you can add new years. So shifting gears here now to calendar maintenance. And so now you have new tools for defining new years within Stratum. You can now create the mappings and import those new calendar mappings from Excel. You can also use these to review and update mappings for existing years. Or use them for future years for that matter. So as you can see, you now have new calendar tools that are available under the hamburger menu, which would allow you to do some of these things, add a new year, do the calendar mapping, or do the calendar mapping import. So again, this is what we feel is a much more user-friendly way of maintaining your calendars. There's less windows and properties to go through, less room for user error, we feel. No more menus to traverse. You can then just basically use Excel to do some of this. This is definitely strictly just for the security administrators. And this is just basically one of the first steps towards the rewriting of the Stratum admin and replacing some of those functions. So like I said earlier in the session, that some of those older interfaces will be sunsetted, and then obviously we'll be introducing new utilities and tools to replace those. So calendar maintenance is the first lucky one to do it, and well overdue. So definitely something that we welcome. And here we can see that the calendar mapping import features. Here we can add the new year. We click on adding a new year. We click on new, and then we define the new years, just like we did before, except now we're doing that in a different interface. We're now doing it within the new interface. So no more going to another client or having to load another client somewhere on a machine. Those days are now over in terms of that. Here we can do the calendar mapping. We can generate the starting port for the mapping files. Again, if you're not familiar with some of the calendar creation steps, this kind of goes through all the different steps of creating your calendars and your new years. And for each view group, you can download a starting point mapping file from Excel, and that'll fill in the details for your newly added years. So here's what that Excel spreadsheet would look like. You can look at all the different ways to manipulate your calendars in terms of months, periods, quarters, and weeks. And as you can see, we got the start and end dates for each one of those and the years defined, so that we could just suck this into the product and be done with it. So now all your maintenance and management is now done within Excel. And you can, as you can see, you fill in all these empty cells on the first tab, and then the remaining tabs used by viewer for the mapping import validations. So again, final steps: import each mapping file, select the new years for your measure groups and connector, and do a full connector process. And yeah, you've been able to get that new year added to your environment. There's some additional detail online, of course, on the help menus. You do need to have some things here that are available in terms of getting some of this stuff done, which includes having a Stratum Analyst Hub license and some of the has related settings and system configuration as well. So we can help you. So definitely want to talk with us before taking your first shot at some of this stuff. I'll be glad to help you with this, and we can guide you through some of these processes, at least initially, so that you can hit the ground running. So here we can build out some of the Stratum glossary descriptions to maximize the user benefits from the expanded glossary. Here's also where you can set up that record retention setting, and that's part of the system configuration menu. And pretty easy to get to. I'll show you where to set that, and that's for, in this case, 60 days, or if you want to hold records longer for that, up to you in terms of what you can do there. You do have to be at version 7.2 or greater. Other than that, full process is not required when you upgrade from 7.2 to 7.7. This is very similar to 7.6. Full process is still required when you upgrade to from going from 7.2. Here's some of the requirements in terms of the SQL Server and Windows requirements. 1922. Um, the calendar mapping import requires Stratum Analyst Hub license, so something to consider as well. All right, so let's take a look at some of this in live action. Like I said, we can step through some of these menus, take a look at some of this stuff. First and foremost, let's take a look at some of these menus, such as the manage things, as you can see under system configuration. So if I go there, we can see where the setting is for my record retention. So yeah, it's in this case, I think by default it's set at 60. So if you want to replace that, double that up, whatever you deem appropriate. But you can it's free form what you can put in there, and yeah, you just go ahead and save that away. So pretty simple to get to that. And then also is the ability to go in and see some of these new reports, right? So if we wanted to take a look at the role reporting, um, we can go to role and bring up our roles. And in this case, if we wanted to highlight a given role, you can then go in and do a specific export of that role. Decide here's my filters that I need to decide which role I want to bring down. So as you can see, I've only got really 4 roles, but you're going to have a lot more. So uh, this is why this is such a crucial menu. So you want to go in and make sure you highlight which ones you can only highlight. Looks like just one. Oh, it looks like you can do multiple. This is still kind of new for me too. So yeah, so one or multiples, and then you can do some additional filtering under the role that you select, whether you want to do any additional. Oh, I see. You can only do certain filters here, and then you can do a filter here for your user profile group. So it all depends on which one you want to filter on, and yeah, you can do the necessary filters as needed here. I'm not going to do this only because it's in my environment here and there might be some people's names here. So I'm just going to, but in your environment, as you can see, you can filter on these things. Maybe I want this role that only has account group in it. Find the roles that only have account group with user profile, a group, dashboard testing. A lot of stuff to consider here in terms of what you want to do and filter on. And then you can go ahead and dump that down. If we go to the view menu, we can do, again, something similar here, except these are my views. So in this case, if I want my view report, I can go ahead and dump those down, or I can go to my view usage report and dump that down into Excel, where as you can see, it just did that. I can open that up and see my view usage report. And it looks like it's mainly just me because I'm the only one that uses it. So it's all me there. And here I've got the view name, the ID, the start and end date when I ran the view. And here we can have, there's timestamps as well, used by me, my user profile ID within the Stratum interface. It gives me the used from, so I know if they're coming in through the connector or if they're using viewer, which is nice, so that we know, and there's actually an ID that associates to that. So that's awesome. It's a great looking report. And so yeah, that's your views. And if you wanted to see the actual view report itself, so this is the actual inventory of just your views. Similar looking report, but it's just a a unique. These are all my views, right? So I have what, like 600 and some odd views, and these are all my unique views. The description, the view ID, what type of is it shared, personal, global? What view group does it belong to? Who owns it? What's their ID? What's is it? Are there any actions associated to it? Last used by, and so on and so forth. So a lot of good information here for your views as well. So definitely want to check that out. Um, so yeah, so those are some of the new reports that you can generate, and a lot of cool stuff there. Another cool thing that we can do here is the new mapping. So if you like the mapping that you can do within our dashboards, we've also added the ability to map out Canada. So if you want to do go in and edit this map and change that from the United States to Canada or any other, as you can see, a lot of other countries that are available in areas. But you decide, what you want to do there. Click OK, and now I've got a Canadian map that I can associate data to. I just don't happen to have any Canadian data. But if you did, as you can see, the data would illuminate by province. Here you have Newfoundland, one of the Eastern Fort. I think it has its own time zone, I believe. So yeah, kind of crazy. All the different new charts that are available for the mapping, all the different new areas that are available. You can also set what the coloring options that you want for how they illuminate by the different areas of sales or whatever it is that you're using for the mapping. So yeah, so that's available. You can then do some fantastic mapping, such as the one you see here, where I can then see some of my stronger states, some of my weaker states, some of the states in the middle there too. So this is the Stratum dashboarding map, the geo charting capabilities that's been enhanced as well within 7.7. So, and then the extension of using the like we said, the glossary data. So here we have an example of using the glossary data for some of the measures that are within my Power BI report. So if I can see that, I can click on actual sales here, or this year versus last, and I now have a definition that the users can go in and read and see what these measures mean that they're looking at in terms of analysis on this particular dashboard. I've made my connection to the glossary data through the regular means where we go and we connect to the Power BI connector, just like we did before. We make that connection. We enter our URL. So I'm going to go grab that real quick. And we'll plop that in there. And then do we want to include the glossary data? Yep, absolutely. So we'll say yes to that. We click OK. It then makes the connections. I can then type in a keyword for the views that I want to use. And for each one of my views, I either can bring down the glossary data. Here you can see what you would get in terms of all of that, or the data itself, or both. I can certainly include both. Then load that in and make that available within my Power BI report. And it just becomes as simple as adding in maybe additional data. Here I'm filtering on it. So if I want to add in maybe gross margins definitions as well, I can add that in too. And just click on those in the filter. And there they are. And then you get the glossary definition of those measures. So again, this is data that you maintain within Stratum. It's now extended to the Power BI connector, as well as the new Excel connector capability, where I've imported data from a view and I've connected directly to Stratum using our Stratum Excel connector. As you can see, it includes a Stratum menu option within Excel. And then I can go and get the data from Stratum, select the view that I want to bring in, include the glossary links, make sure you check that on, and then click on insert, and it then brings the data down from that view. And then I've got my links. So if I want to see what sales is, I can click on that and it opens up the glossary and tells me what sales is. So now I've got the definition of sales right there at the fingertips of my Excel connector report. If I wanted to see a given customer, such as Wilder Foods, now the cell itself, the actual customer number has been hyperlinked as well, and now I've got more information about Wilder Foods. Here's the uh, address for them. Here's the email for Wilder Foods, phone numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So these are all the attributes that you have stored within Stratum are now available at one click away within your Excel connector report. So cool stuff, man. A lot of stuff has been added here so that, again, it brings the data from Stratum, not only from the actual views, but also from the glossary. It brings it to the fingertips of your analyst as well. So